Alrighty, everybody. Yes, it is time again. Another one. Today we're going to be talking about the Brian D. Allgood Army Community Hospital. Yes, the hospital at Camp Humphreys, Korea, which is the largest United States military base, overseas base in the entire world. Yes, it is. It is absolutely the biggest. And with that, it has probably the most clients or patients, population that they need to serve. And we're going to talk about that because there are some problems that are arising. So George pops up and says, "Hey, howdy, how we're doing? Let's get back. I need to do one more thing. Let me copy this and we'll go back to this so that way we can have a little bit of that. And yeah, this is the thing that we're talking about here. Yeah, the Brian D. Allgood Army Community Hospital, and unfortunately, new clinic. I mean, you might say, why would a new clinic at the hospital? To serve the population of the soldiers and their family members. Retirees were on the bottom of the list, and it's kind of like you could probably win the lottery a few times before you can get a on-call or standby appointment, but that's neither here nor there. So apparently I don't use Brian D. Allgood for appointments. I go to Korean hospitals, and then that's covered under my TRICARE. So yeah, I do go to the pharmacy though to get some of my prescriptions filled. But with that, apparently this new clinic is up and going to be running, and it's going to provide access to care. So it's interesting when you start, over the years, I guess, how can I put this? Let's give some background. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy, for those people that don't know. And I spent a career in the United States military. I spent a lot of time in Korea. I've been down south. I've been up on the DMZ. I was actually at Camp Pelham / Gary Owen, or Gary Owen / Camp Pelham. Yeah, it is. I spent a lot of time in the military there, and so I have a good experience, or I shouldn't say good experience, but I have experience with medical here in Korea for U.S. military service members. Corsair, the pirate, pops up and says, "Wow, you're perpetually online." Evening. Yeah, it's morning here. I get up early, probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock every day, and then I do my latte and kind of check the news and just kind of do my Zen meditation. Let's jump on to the retiree day thing. And yeah, this is just kind of the thing that I do. So consider it like back in the day when old people used to go to coffee shops and talk. That's kind of what we're doing now. So morning coffee talk, just evening where you're at. So, but glad to have you aboard. With that, we're talking about the Brian D. Allgood Army Community Hospital. They're opening up a new clinic. And with the background and my experience of the U.S. Army and being in Korea multiple times and seeing how things were staffed back when the hospital, before it was Brian D. Allgood, it was 121 Hospital up in Yongsan. And yeah, it's been an interesting thing. Corsair the Pirate says, "Your matcha latte." Oh, the matcha latte. I did, for those of you who are kind of wondering what's this matcha latte thing, what I ended up doing is somebody suggested that I try a matcha latte. And let me see if I can find a video. Dun, dun, dun. No, it wasn't that. It was a regular video. And I guess we could go ahead and play it. Why not? I mean, that was a big thing. So many people are saying, oh, you need to try a matcha latte. I'm a big espresso latte person. I do my own lattes and espressos. I have a machine here at the house. And yeah, so I'm big on beans and espresso and stuff like that. I'm kind of a snob, but after, decades of Folgers and stuff like that, and then I got turned on to real coffee. Oh my gosh, I could never go back. I did make a video about this. So what we can end up doing is, let me see if we'll get past the commercial here for the YouTube, and we'll take a look at this. because yesterday, what we ended up doing, the wife and I went and had brunch. It was a beautiful day. I mean, it's going to be really cold today, and we're going to get cooler temperatures. But at this cafe brunch place, La Paine, they have great food, great breakfast, and they actually had a matcha latte. So what we're going to end up doing, let's just go ahead and take a look at this and get on it. Come on, come on. There we go. There we go. We can do that. And this is a short video of the matcha latte. It's only like 4 minutes long, so let's go ahead and we'll just jump right in. And we're having a beautiful morning breakfast, and the weather is awesome. Perfect weather. Perfect weather. Because next week, starting tomorrow, it is going to be
20 degrees lower.
Yeah, 20 degrees lower. It's going to be cold. Cold. So we decided to go ahead and get the breakfast. I'm going to try the matcha latte. I don't know about that.
They asked me if it's going to be green.
It looks pretty. It's pretty green, that's for sure. But it's tea.
You might like it. Well, actually it's a latte, so there is a coffee in it.
So there's coffee in there. So that's the redeeming thing
There's
there.
a shot in it.
So, yeah. Okay. She got the scrambled eggs. So how's yours? Good? Let's see if we can get to the milk, steamed milk. She's not a real coffee person. So, because somebody said try it. And I was like, but that's that green Japanese tea-like stuff. So,
Is this very first time for you, honey?
yeah.
Matcha? Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Seriously?
You might like it.
It smells like grass. It really did. It smells like, I swear to God, it smells like freshly cut grass. Yeah. I'm scared.
Oh. Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
It's grass.
You're not scared of grass.
I'm not scared of grass. I'm afraid of it ruining the latte. I mean,
I tasted before. It's not that bad.
it's not that bad.
It's
That
not
bad.
my favorite. Let me put it that way, honey.
Good. It's not that bad. Yeah. It's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, there you go. See?
But there's still a hint of grass, of green.
That's the point.
It truly is. It tastes like grass. And not the happy grass that you smoke.
Oh my goodness. What is happy grass?
You try it.
Well, I know what it is.
No, you haven't had it in a long time. So you can try it. Fresh cut grass. So, yeah,
Not bad.
it's like I can see that it's kind of like a tea. I could see it as being a tea. It's definitely a Japanese tea. But to throw it in with
A lot of Koreans.
Korean, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Asian.
yeah, Asian grass.
But no, they say it's all over the world.
Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
love it.
But first time I ever saw it was Japan. So I don't know. It's,
It's okay.
I'll drink it. It's not my favorite, but
That's
okay.
exactly what I said.
So there it is. Okay. We'll have it. Drink it. Yeah. I didn't even finish the latte. That it really, and the sad part about it is that it continued to get colder, and honestly, I ended up buying a vanilla latte to kind of wipe the taste out of my mouth. It was pretty bad. Net Venom comes in and says, "Damn, Steve, you got a buttload of apps loaded. Not apps, just tabs on. I got my. Well, I guess I could close my Creality print. I could close that. And which one is that? I don't know. We'll just cancel all this stuff. Discard. Yeah, I do have some stuff open. Thank you for reminding me of that. We'll get rid of that. We'll close that. We'll close that. We'll close that. That'll probably help. But in all honesty, I understand how some people like matcha. I could understand matcha as a tea by itself. I can get that. There's tea people. I've had tea before. And honestly, I think it's an abomination to put matcha in a latte. It seemed watered down. The grass taste, it seemed like freshly cut grass. And that overpowering taste just took away from the beans, the espresso, which is supposed to be the main character in a latte. So it just kind of watered it down. And then as it got colder, the problem is that the greenness that I was tasting seemed to be amplified even more so. And just got to the part where I said on video that I was going to finish it. It was like, as the colder it got, I was like, no, I can't finish this. It's not my cup of tea. If you get that pun, give yourself a like. So I ended up getting a vanilla latte, and then I had it, and my wife had some sips of that because, yeah, we're not matcha espresso latte people. So that answers the question of the matcha latte. It didn't go well, but the rest of the breakfast was awesome, and then we cleared the palate with a good latte. That is one of the few places that has good lattes. There's that place. There's a couple other. Maybe I'll do a video where we just go and I'll just OD on caffeine by going to different espresso places and ordering a cup and drinking it and put it on video, and we'll just have like 3 or 4 different places that I like. I don't know. Other people might not like them. So that is the story behind the green matcha latte thing. I promised I would go do that, and I did yesterday. They had it, and I don't know, it was not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. So anyway, that's where we got. More mocha, says Netventive. I don't, in my opinion, no amount of mocha would redeem matcha in a latte. It shouldn't be a thing. Anyway, let's see what else. George says, I'll stick to cayenne pepper in my hot chocolate. Really? I'm not going to try that. I think you're making stuff up so that I can try stuff, and I don't know if you're joking or not. But I have had jam that was like jalapeno jam and stuff like that. Used to be live in New Mexico and in Colorado. That's kind of a thing. Up in the Denver and the hoity-toity places, you've got jalapeno jam and different types of hot and spicy jams, which are actually surprisingly good. I didn't think I would like something like that, but there's the sweet, there's the spice. I kind of get the contrast that ends up working, and so I can live with that. George says that when you add cayenne pepper to hot chocolate, it makes it richer. So is it like finely ground, or is it just like cayenne pepper like you put on pizza and just kind of flake that over your hot chocolate? Is that what you end up doing? Or is it finely ground? I don't know. I'm open to trying things, except for balut, in the Philippines or China, where they have the fermented egg with the chicken that is almost fully developed. Yeah, there's no way in the world I will try that. So, yeah. You could throw as much espresso as you want in it with that. There is no way that I would eat that. I've eaten a lot of weird things, but yeah, that I would have to draw the line at that. So anyway, yeah, we had a great breakfast yesterday. Really good weather. Weather was awesome. After we ate, we were stuffed, and then we ended up taking a walk, and we showed all of the ginkgo trees and stuff. George says, finely ground. Okay. I could do like a mocha latte, and then I'll see if I can get some cayenne pepper from the store, and I'll sprinkle. Is it just a little bit, just a little sprinkle on the top, or do you mix it in, or let me know how you do that. If it makes it taste richer, that's on your hot chocolate though. But I could do like a chocolate latte, mocha latte, and give that a shot. And yeah, let me know. I mean, should it be just lightly sprinkled on the top, or do you just go at it, mix it in, and how much do you put in? Finely ground, like what? Teaspoon, half a teaspoon. Make sure you let me know about that. I want to give that a shot. The other thing that we ended up doing is after that was going and walking around and checking out the ginkgo trees on the streets. So let me see. No, we did it. Ginkgo trees. Here it is. So I guess we can take a look at that. And because that was our digesting the food type of thing. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at this. Yeah, we got commercials and stuff. Pretty colors as we go along there. This is the main street that goes to the Camp Humphreys main gate. So you can see all the pretty colors and everything. They are pretty impressive, and it continues on. I mean, look how far down that goes. That is absolutely crazy. So definitely beautiful, as you can see. And the colors of the trees, just pretty amazing. And you can see all this stuff. We got a car behind us, one. But yeah, just pretty amazing. So yeah, it was close to where we live. So yeah, this was, and unfortunately, when you do the YouTube live on a cell phone, there's no stabilization. Like if I had stabilization, just make a video and then post it. So I wanted to try that. But yeah, I mean, look at all those colors. That's just pretty amazing. And it just lines that whole street. The fall colors in Korea are just incredible. And especially when you get, the ginkgo trees will turn like that. And then it'll get a little bit colder, and then all of the leaves will fall, and it's like it's snowing when the wind blows, and just golden leaves falling everywhere. It is really, really impressive. So we continued walking down, and a lot of the leaves are already falling, but I mean, look at the colors on that, just so vibrant. Just pretty impressive. So, yeah. It is just a really, really beautiful fall time in Korea. So that one ended up being green, and we continued doing our walk down to Camp Humphreys, and again, more trees and stuff like that. So, it turned out pretty good. We had a real good walk, and we enjoyed that. So, George says that it's going back to the chocolate and the cayenne pepper. He mixes it in with the chocolate powder. Okay. And he says he learned that from Alton Brown. Oh, really? Okay. I will have to check that out. I will definitely give that a shot. Ned Ventive says, I saw that episode on Good Eats. Wow. Okay, so we got 2 recommendations. So I'm going to take your all's word for it, unless you're working in cahoots and just playing a joke on me. But I'll pick up some cayenne pepper today, and we'll try that in a mocha latte and make another video. Of course, it'll be at home, so we'll see how that works out. I'll probably just put like a little sprinkle and mix it in, and then do before cayenne and then after cayenne, and see how that goes. But that's kind of interesting. I'll definitely give that a shot. So yeah, fall time in Korea is awesome. And getting back to the topic of the Camp Humphreys U.S. military base, which is the largest military base in the world, they got a few trees in front of their place. And if we take a look and show what they got, there's the Brian D. Allgood Army Community Hospital. This is kind of an older picture, and they got some trees, but they've kind of grown up, and you get some foliage, and it's a nice facility. It's new-ish, from when Yongsan and everybody came down from the north part of South Korea down to Camp Humphreys, where now Camp Humphreys is the base, kind of like Yongsan was back in the day. Well, this is the hospital. And to give you some background on this hospital, it ends up that Camp Humphreys has about 35,000 soldiers, their family members, contractors, so on and so forth. So it is a large community, Like I said, it's the largest overseas U.S. military base in the world. There's a lot of patients. It's a huge population, and it's the largest. Unfortunately, though, with all of my time being in Korea, matter of fact, my daughter was born at 121 Hospital in Seoul. So I have seen hospitals and medical facilities in Korea from my time of being in the service. Afterwards, now I'm retired here in Korea, I still see it, but there's always been an underlying problem, and that is a lack of medical care. And really, it comes down to you can have the hospital's got like 4 surgery rooms, 68 beds, it's got a number of clinics, and so on and so forth, which is great. I mean, you got to have the infrastructure. You can't just be operating inside a tent like you would during a war, stuff like that. But the problem is staffing. It always comes down to staffing. And the military is notorious for having minimal staffing and the most amount of work that you should do. Do more with less is kind of like the military phrase of forever. It's, be no do. No, it's do more with less. That has been the constant. You can have all types of Army phrases, but it's always going to resort back to do more with less. It's whether it's equipment, staff, personnel, whatever it is, that is the underlying tone of our military, in my opinion. So we'll just kind of get that out of the way. So with the Brian D. Allgood Hospital, it's kind of an interesting little thing. So let's kind of pop back over here, and this is their Facebook page, and of course I follow them, and it's there it is. The community hospital, Thanksgiving celebration meal. For Thanksgiving on Thursday, they have their own cafe there. So, they end up having ham, roasted turkey, ship rounds, stuff like that. Standard rate $11.55 or $8.55 for dependents of E4 and below. I don't know. That looks pretty good. Usually they have some type of cafe there. I've never been there, but that could be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. But what I want to talk about is this right here. This is the news. It says, exciting news for our soldiers and family members. Proud to announce the grand opening of the Brian D. Allgood Army Community Hospital Family Care Walk-in Clinic, which is co-located with a patient-centered medical home on the first floor. Family Care Walk-in Clinic offers same-day care for acute medical issues, no appointment needed. And this is for mild to moderate non-life-threatening conditions like minor injuries, sprains, strains, cuts, bruises, cold, flu, viral infections, skin conditions like rashes, insect bites, minor burns, urinary tract infections, sinus infections, strep throat, minor procedures, wound care, splinter removal, stitches. It is not for prescription refills. It is not for management of long-term health problems. It's not for schools or physicals or military physicals. It's not for that. Life-threatening emergencies, of course, it's not for that, such as chest pain, trouble breathing, major injury. You got to go to the emergency room. And this is going to be from Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., closed on weekends and holidays. And this is for active duty family members and service members, NATO and SOFA foreign force families members and service members. So you have to remember that at Camp Humphreys, it's no longer the United States military. You have the United States Forces Command, USFK, all of the military services, but you also have the United Nations Command, which is here as well. So you'll have people I've heard people with Australian accents, New Zealand accents, English accents, and their military and their families. We've got, those type of people are actually living in the apartment complex that we live in. So, it's a kind of a melting pot of all types of military, which is kind of cool. But the hospital, I would say the largest hospital in the U.S. military base is Camp Humphreys, and so it provides the medical care for the largest population overseas. And it's going to be interesting. It's first come, first served. Walk in until 6:30 p.m. Patients are generally seen in the order they check in. However, understand if patients present severe or urgent issues, they may have priority. So there's going to be some type of triage. which I think with the labeling that they ended up having, if it's a severe issue, I think that would be going to the emergency room. But yeah, first come, first serve. Okay, maybe it's somebody like me. Maybe somebody like me where, I can take a lot of pain. I wait until last minute and it's like, just put a Band-Aid on it. It's like, no, you need to get surgery. I'm that type of guy. So, clinic may close earlier if the clinic reaches its maximum capacity for the day, but we don't know what the maximum capacity is, not a replacement for sick call. Sick call for is getting sick call there. Again, cold, flu, skin conditions, not a replacement for sick call, so on and so forth. The problem that I see with this is manyfold. Manyfold. Nedventive says that is such a critical care service to have available when you need it. The ER can get backed up otherwise. Oh, yeah. And usually what happens in a military hospital that is normally understaffed, that's the status quo to begin with, is you have the sick call, you have regular appointments, and then you don't have enough staff to field or see all of those patients. So the overflow goes to the emergency room. So that's why in the United States, in like Fort Carson, Fort Lewis, Fort Hunter Liggett, there's a number of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I've been to a number of places, Texas. Usually the emergency room is the overflow for appointments that cannot get fielded, or people that can't get appointments because there's too many patients and not enough staff to give access. They have access to care, but actually getting the care is a whole different story because you're understaffed. And like it says, hey, what is the maximum capacity of the clinic for the day? That's a very important thing. And this just highlights, and there's an elephant sitting in the room, is when we're talking about medical care in the U.S. military and all the experiences that I've had and what I've seen over the years being here. And it can be quite the debacle. We're opening up a new clinic, 11 to 6:30 p.m. My question is, did they get a slew of new doctors with this new clinic? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not. It's not probably not. It's probably not. And so I'm going to go over some of the things that I talked about on here. So we'll just kind of dip back in here, and you can see it was understaffed. And now we add a new clinic. So did the hospital get a slew of new doctors and nurses? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not. I think the current buzz phrase is access to care, even if it means robbing Peter to pay Paul. If I'm wrong, please correct me. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting little thing here, because if you don't have the staff to field the regular clinics, how can you effectively add a new clinic? That means you're asking the current overworked staff to limit their work in normal clinics to work in this new clinic. Does everybody get that? The only way to do this is with no new staff is to minimize the amount of time patients spend with their regular appointments in clinics. And by the way, the regular time is about 10, maybe 15 minutes. And so that includes the screening time that you have with your screener, the nurse that comes in and takes your vitals and gets the information, and then later the doctor comes in. All of that is included in that amount of time. So what you're telling me is you're going to minimize this? This can be a problem. Because if you didn't get new nurses, staff, and doctors for this new clinic, for this access to care, this walk-in clinic, no appointment needed, which seems like a great idea. But if you don't have the staff to field the patients that you had with the regular appointments in the regular clinics, now you're splitting up the work. So in other words, if you have a doctor who's working regular clinics and now you open up a new clinic, are you going to be two places at the same time? Of course not. Of course not. So that means you're going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul by minimizing the amount of time that doctors currently see with their patients so that you can send a doctor or doctors or nurses or staff, all of those, into this new clinic. And staffing a clinic is kind of a big thing. So I'm hoping I really hope that I'm seriously wrong. I hope that I am so wrong on this that it would just slap me silly. I hope that I'm so wrong that this would go down in history as me being as wrong as anybody could be. But I've had my ear to the ground, and I don't think they've gotten new doctors, staff, nurses, etc. Which again poses the problem of you're going to have to. There's only so many hours in a day, and this means that there's ways that you can do this. So obviously you can limit the amount of time in the regular clinics and the regular appointment times that doctors spend with patients, including the screening of said patients. So you shorten that time down. And then the other thing that you can end up doing is increasing your on-call status. So doctors are on call. And I'm assuming there are some nurses that are on call, but I know for a fact that doctors go on call and they would do it for about a week at a time. George pops up and says, or will it be mostly staffed by 2 on-call doctors and a lot of nurse practitioners? But still, that's a good question. But those nurse practitioners should be working in the regular clinics, which they're understaffed to begin with. So now you're going to put more people on call. So right now, I think the average on call is 1 week. So now with the new clinic, are you going to put people on call schedule for 2 or 3 weeks at a time now? That's a grueling schedule. And you're still expected to do your regular workload. And we're not even talking about the Army stuff that you have to do in the medical world. Everybody's got to do Army stuff if you're in the Army. And doctors and Army nurses and so on and so forth, and Army staff who are in the medical field, they still have their regular Army stuff to do. So that detracts from the medical care that they can give. It's just a fact of life. It's not dissing anybody or the military or the medical people who provide such great service to our service members and families and sometimes retirees. There's only so much blood you can get out of a tournament is what I'm saying. And when you take and your focus is on access to care, and that is your metric of success, is how many people you can get in the door rather than the actual care, the health care itself. But if you don't have enough staff, it's all for naught anyway. So, resource allocation, it's going to fall apart, I'm afraid. I think it's going to cause more problems, and it's definitely going to cause more overwork among staff, nurses, doctors, MPs, things like that. It is just very problematic, I think. So if now you're going to have doctors that are, instead of 1 week of being on call, it's going to be 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they're still expected to do their regular work on top of that, because there's paperwork, there's charting, there's notes, there's reports, there's this, there's that. I mean, there's all types of medical stuff that happens with doctors. And being on call isn't like, I'm going to be on call, and so the only work I'm going to do is when I'm on call. No, the majority of doctors are working when they're on call, and they're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. And again, it's not straight 8 hours, straight 4 hours or 5 hours, because again, they're on call, and emergencies happen at all hours of day and night. And when it comes at the night, that interrupts your sleep. So it means that you're working in a sleep deprived state because you're not getting good quality REM sleep, which means that could have an effect on your mental facilities of not being able to make good decisions. And since the doctors and nurses and staff are already overworked to begin with, after a full day of working, I just see this as a detractor from successful medical care. So, CB pops in and says, hey, Nevada had its first ever standalone ERs and standalone surgery rooms that I have ever seen in my life. Oh, okay. Well-staffed 24 hours a day. Yeah, but those are civilians. And civilian hospitals versus military hospitals generally get paid better. They have better benefits. Granted, they have to pay liability and so on and so forth, but they got better profit sharing programs, 401ks, so forth, and their scheduling is a hell of a lot better in the civilian world compared to the military, because it's just, you have people that are in the medical field in the military, especially doctors. I mean, they're fighting to get vacation time because you're expected to do so much with so little that it's really kind of frowned upon that you take your vacation time. So it's no wonder that we have doctors and nurses that are really getting just rode hard and put away wet when it comes to mentally, physically, spiritually draining by doing these jobs. And so, that's kind of an issue. George pops up and says, another issue is the burnout means loss of retention of doctors. Exactly. This, every day of the week and twice on Sunday. That is absolutely true. So you're going to overwork these doctors, these military doctors. I'm not talking about the doctors that are contracted to these hospitals. I'm talking about military doctors. And from that perspective, but even then, civilian doctors still get overworked as well. So that's kind of a problem. But so now you're going to have the regular work that these doctors have to do. Now you have to stretch them even thinner because you're opening up a new walk-in clinic because, oh yeah, by the way, you complained about people doing no-shows, no-call no-shows to their appointments. And we did a video where we talked about that. I found some stats on Brian D. Allgood Hospital in a previous video where they get some obscene amount of appointments per year. And when you do the math, it ends up, it's like over 500 appointments a day. I don't think they're getting 500 appointments a day. And when they talked about the no-call, no-show rate on a prior town hall meeting or in a briefing that I saw, I think it was a briefing online that I saw with PowerPoints and the whole 9 yards, you got to have the PowerPoint. It ended up that their no-call, no-show rate was like 7%, which actually is not bad. But even then, you're talking about having over 500 appointments a day, 365 days a year. And we're not talking off time for Korean holidays, U.S. holidays, whatever other holidays, training, exercises, people that go on leave or vacation, you have to pick up the slack for that. So really, you're telling me that you're doing 500 appointments a day at Brian D. Allgood? I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Van Nomadic pops in. Hello. Hey, good to have you aboard. Talked about the military and hospitals here at Camp Humphreys. And getting back to the subject of burnout. More on-call stuff, more work, doing more with less to try to, check the box for their metric of access to care is the metric of which it's a success if we provide the access to care, not the actual care itself like they do in civilian hospitals. So there's that. But with this burnout and people that cannot take leave, some people cannot take and go to military schooling because they're so overworked, and so it's kind of minimized the importance of military schooling that they should go to, which would help in their promotions and so on and so forth, because the immediate need is so intense that let's put all these other things, like in the civilian world, you would normally have enough staff to allow doctors to go and do these things, or nurses or whatever, to do training and whatever. We're not really seeing that in the military world here, and it's a problem with the burnout, because these doctors and nurses and practitioners get so burned out that it's like, well, why am I'm sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. A doctor has a full load schedule of appointments when they do regular clinic work, but what you don't, from the morning until evening, it's a full day loaded with patients, and now they're probably going to be told that you can't spend as much time with patients as you did before, including the screening, And then on top of that, you're going to open up another clinic, which is going to, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that overwork and that burden is going to, doctors are going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm pulling my hair out, my hair is falling out because of the stress or whatever. I don't have time for physical fitness. That's another thing. I hate it when people look at military doctors and they say, oh, look at how overweight that military doctor is. And it's like, oh, don't they do PT? They're really, really busy giving medical care, and it's not like the rest of the military. It's not like every day of the week they can go do PT in the morning and then they just, do their PT and shit, shower, shave, and then go and do their medical thing. And at the end of the day, they go home and they just have a great life. No, it's kind of like they're unicorns. Military doctors are unicorns in the fact that they do medical stuff. They do their physical fitness on their own. And after a full day of work, you will talk to some doctors, nurse practitioners. They have to do notes and charting, and many of them will do them after their normal working hours at home, or they'll spend additional hours there at the hospital to finish up their notes and charting. And you have to do your notes and charting and other, you have to read the files of the patients before they come in. You can't reduce that amount of time. So there are some variables that cannot change. And if you do, that can lead to missing important information. Just saying. We see this in the Korean medical facilities where overwork and it's just crazy. You have Korean doctors doing 36-hour shifts, on call and so on and so forth. The overtime work that they do, you're seeing 100 to 150 patients a day, which according to Korean news sources, doctors will see a patient on an average of 3.5 minutes. That's insane. So, and it's severe overwork. And yeah, it's a very big problem. And I think that's where the Brian D. Allgood Hospital is getting, is where you're going to get so overworked that people are just you're going to have some mental breakdowns on some people. You're going to have people that are just going to be like, you know what, I wanted to do a career in medical, in the military, but I'm out. I'm going to do the civilian world because they get paid better. They get paid benefits, 401k, profit sharing, things like that. And more importantly, their work schedules are severely reduced compared to the military schedule that they have. CB says, haha, the idea of a doc going to a gym before work is just absurd. Yeah, it's hard. And there are doctors that will have a treadmill in their BAQs, their senior quarters or whatever, and they'll walk the treadmill as they're doing notes and charting, and those are the dedicated ones. Almost retired in 1978. I was a physician recruiter for the military. It was a tough gig, but I survived. Yeah, that's a great thing. The programs that they have for the military to recruit physicians or even people that want to be doctors, like the U.S. Army has a program where they will pay for the medical school and pay a living stipend of medical school students as long as after they graduate, they come in the Army and they do their 8 years after their residency. That's a minimum. And of course, it kind of depends on, their residency, how many years of residency. But after their residency and they're fully certified, they have to do a minimum of 8 years. And then if you go into another specialty or branch, you have to do that residency, and that will tack on more years. So, yeah, at the end of the day, you have zero medical debt, and you got paid a living stipend to go through medical school, pay for books, labs, fees, the whole 9 yards, which is incredible. That is an awesome, awesome thing. But the problem is you throw these doctors into the meat grinder of the U.S. military, and they're like, holy crow, this is insane. The work schedule. And so, yeah, I don't know. It is, I hope they don't do surgery while on the treadmill. I don't know, multitasking. That's a thing these days, multitasking. Maybe that's where the robot machines will come in handy. But it's no wonder with all this additional work, and now we're adding another clinic, even though we didn't get new staff, new doctors, new nurses, and so on and so forth. great, you're providing access to care, but are more people actually being seen, or are you just stretching your workforce out so thin to the point of where that thread breaks? It's just not good. Again, this is going to result in longer on-call time, and you're still considered, you still have to do your regular work on top of that. So the larger problem with this burnout is you're going to have these Army doctors that, granted the military got you through medical school and you got certified, residency was over, you're a doctor. But now they're seeing this and they're saying, hey, I could have spent a career in the military, but this work schedule is grueling, it's horrible, and so I'm just going to go to the civilian world where the pay is much better. The work schedule is definitely better. You can actually have a life. There's some doctor positions that I saw for like GPs and stuff like that, to where the doctors are getting paid 2 or 3 times the amount of what they were being paid in the military, and they only had to work 4 days a week. The rest of the time was off, with only 1 on-call day a week. Wow, that's incredible. So you look at a U.S. Army captain makes about maybe $150,000 a year, somewhere around there, 4 and 6 years, I guess. You have your BAQ, your BAH, so in other words, your quarters and your housing and food or whatever it is, and whatever pay. And the same doctor for a GP in the U.S. ranges from $225,000 to $320,000 a year. And again, there's 401ks, there's profit sharing, there's so on and so forth. And the work schedules are actually sustainable over the long term because of those civilian hospitals. They're profit based. So they have a vested interest. There's that balance between work and rest, and to keep everybody happy and remain profitable. And civilian hospitals have found a way to do this. Military hospitals, not so much. And so in the town hall meetings that you end up seeing online for Brian D. Allgood is, I've seen it a few times already, is that they talk about the staffing, and on paper we're fully staffed to provide support to 35,000 or 30,000 military and their family members, blah, 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 blah. And it's like on paper. On paper. In reality, with all of these other variables that come into play, and now you're opening up a new clinic, you don't have enough staff. And when you complained, honestly, you're telling me that you're going to have over 500 appointments a day at Brian D. Allgood? I think not. I don't think so. And then, of course, there's the rumors of, doctors canceling appointments and so on and so forth from military service members and their family members saying, hey, I had an appointment, all of a sudden it's scheduled, it was unscheduled or dropped or canceled, or, oh, you have to reschedule, which is, you can do that because if a patient comes in and you're only supposed to spend 10 minutes with them and they spend a half hour because they're chatty Cathy and whatever the thing is, or the nurse that does the screening spends too much time, a combination of the two or whatever, now that pushes all the other appointments back. Well, according to some family members that are at Camp Humphreys of military service members, their appointments have been canceled with no reason given whatsoever, and those have been counted as no-show appointments. Oops. CB says, I'm guessing that in Japan, if you're over a certain age, your condition is severe, they're not going to code you. They just send you to hospice. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I'm glad I can go to a Korean hospital because usually I can get appointments. So, but that doesn't bother me. Yeah, same here. So, but yeah, this is going to be a problem because you're going to see so many doctors and staff that are being overworked in these hospitals in the military, and and then the Army politics that is involved on top of that, where you have people that are not medical professionals making medical decisions on how many staff you're supposed to have and so on and so forth, or here's what we're going to do. And it's like, no, that's, that's not how scheduling should work. That's not how you should do this or that. There's always going to be that problem no matter what job you have. You're always going to have somebody that is not well versed or a subject matter expert in that job vocation that will be making decisions because they're higher up and they have rank on their collar, and they will make stupid decisions. It's just a fact of life. It happens everywhere, but it definitely happens in the medical world as well. So seriously, though, Brian D. Allgood is the largest U.S. military base in the world, but it's been understaffed from day one. And now you're talking about adding another clinic, a walk-in clinic. Unless you got new staff, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope they got a ton of new staff. I really, really do. But in that, I hope I'm wrong. Severely, I hope I'm wrong. And if I am, I'll put out an apology. But it doesn't look like we're getting any new staff, new doctors, new nurses, NPs, whatever it is, to field this walk-in clinic. And so if that's the case, again, if that is the case and we don't have new staff and we're understaffed and overworked with just the regular clinics, what is the quality of care? Is the quality of care going to go up by opening up a new clinic when you have no new staff, or is the quality of care going to go down across all of the clinics? And there's only so much that you can farm out to the Korean hospitals as well. That has been a huge thing, and that's part of the stats that don't get mentioned. Terry pops in, says, "Good morning." Good morning. Getting ready to do the deed here. We're talking about the hospitals and clinics and so on and so forth. They're opening up a new clinic at Brian D. Allgood Hospital, walk-in clinic, when they currently don't have enough staff to do their regular clinics, and they do a lot of farming out of appointments to Korean hospitals. I was victim of that, or participant of that, in that we couldn't get the care that I needed while I was an active duty service member, so I had to go to a Korean hospital to get said care. And there's a number of dependents that do the exact same thing. They can't get the care on the hospital in the largest U.S. military base in the world. There's no medical support for that, so they have to go to Korean hospitals. And so when, case in point, being understaffed under normal conditions is a problem, but then you throw in the problem of the Korean hospitals having the doctor strike that took out 10 to 13,000 doctors out of the mix, and appointments were pushed back 6, 8, even 10 months out. That was pushed way back. That is going to reflect in the lack of care for military service members and their families who get referrals to go to these hospitals because you can't do it anymore. So now you're getting a lot of people that are disgruntled because they're under normal conditions they're overworked. Now they're really getting overworked, and now we're so overworked. So what is the answer? Oh, the answer is access to care. No, the answer is not access to care. Everybody has access to care. What you need is to have staff and doctors and nurses to actually provide that care. You can have access all day long, but unless somebody is going to actually give you that medical service, it doesn't matter if you have access or not. You can have access all day long, but if you can't get the care that you need, it's all for naught. So, that's what we got going on. That's what we're talking about, and it's just very, very problematic because everything looks good on paper, but when you get into reality, it's not. CB says, a friend of mine had a heart attack at 67 and they did not open him up, but I don't know the details. He died in the hospital. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of that's sorry to hear that, but that's kind of a normal thing that they have an emergency room on post, but any really serious stuff, you're going to get transported via ambulance to one of the Korean hospitals. And with the doctor strike that we had, that just compounded the problem even more, and that put more stress on the hospital, the military hospital. It's just absolutely crazy. CB says, the older you are, you should try to stay out of hospitals if you can. It's not like I don't want to go to the hospital. but sometimes you have to. But the problem is that there's not enough staff to support the regular clinics, and they're going to open in a walk-in clinic. But where are you getting the staff from? You have to pull the staff from the regular clinics where people are being overworked, and you've minimized the amount of one-on-one time that you have with the patient to begin with. So is there going to be an increase in actual care, or is it going to be a decrease overall because you're doing more with less? That's all I'm saying. And again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And again, the larger systemic problem is when you get people that are military doctors and they experience the craziness that is here, they're going to say, you know what? I'm not going to stay in the military as a doctor. I'm going to get out, and I'm going to get paid 2 or 3 times more what I was getting paid. I'm going to have less on-call time. I'm going to actually be able to have a life after work. I'm not going to have to do charting and notes and other work after my normal duty hours at home doing work 2, 3, or 4 hours at a time to try to stay on track and maintain the high standards. And eventually, when you get burnt out, it's like, I know I got to do these notes. I know I got to do these reports and this and that. But I don't have enough time in the day for me to decompress, for me to be able to have a life outside of the medical world. So then you got to do your notes quicker, and you're going to miss some stuff, or you're going to put stuff, there's going to be a compromise on the standards that you once had, and now those standards are going to be lower. And unfortunately, statistically, when you lower the standards, that means you're going to have more problems. It's just a fact of life, and whatever occupation you do. So, yeah, less attention to detail, not enough time with the client or patient or whatever it is, or on the time or the project that you're doing to be able to, really think clearly. And thinking clearly, that's a critical task, a critical thing that you need. But if you're overworking your doctors, nurses, and staff, and they're getting only 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, and yet the doctors are telling the patients you should get 7 to 10 hours sleep a night, you should be eating right. Numerous doctors and nurses, NPs, they don't eat lunch. They throw like some protein bars in their, in their pockets, and that's if they have time to do that. They eat junk food, and it's like you're robbing people to pay Paul, and you're telling the doctors are telling people you should eat right, you should get enough sleep, but the working conditions at the hospital don't allow them to even practice what they preach. And then people are like, I can't put up with this. I'm going to get out of the military and go to a civilian hospital, which is, yeah, you've got liability insurance and stuff like that, but with the pay and the better work schedules and that better balance of profit and work and burnout and all that stuff, the civilian hospitals are really the way to go, unfortunately, in many cases. And then we won't even talk about the problems of hiring civilian doctors into the military, because that's an 8 to 12 month process. And what doctor is going to sit around for 8 to 12 months? Probably zero. It's very, very, very rare, unless you have a doctor, and I'm just basing this off of the VA. You can get doctors as VA doctors in the Veterans Administration, but they're bottom of the barrel, and their standards are low, and maybe they had problems in a number of civilian hospitals. So the only place that they can work is for the VA. We don't want those people either. So again, it all comes down to standards. Doing more with less, you have to lessen the standards. Something's got to give. You can't have high standards. You can't have super high quality health care and overwork your staff and not have problems, and then say, oh, well, just keep piling on, more work. Yeah. CB says, always had advanced directives, but didn't know if I could do that in Japan. So we did that. Terry says, you can get really good doctors in the military. Oops. Whoa. There we go. You can get really good doctors in the military, and they get sent to D.C. to take care of the president and Congress with health care that normal citizens don't get, healthcare programs. Terry, yeah, Walter Reed. Yeah, but a lot of the military hospitals, you're always expected to do more with less. And that goes with staffing, it goes with funding, it goes with facilities, maintenance, the whole 9 yards. And over my career in the military and then working for the state of Colorado, I have clearly seen this up front and personal. So, and even as a retiree, just kind of bringing back all of the stuff that I've seen. And then now they say, oh, we're opening up a new clinic. All is well with the world. No, it's not. Yes, you're getting access to care, but are you adding more staff, more doctors? No, you're not. So you're robbing, you got to take, there's no, the void has to be filled. When you open up a new clinic, that means staff, regular staff, secretaries, janitors, the whole 9 yards, whatever it is, maybe not janitors. But you need more staff to fill and field that clinic, and doctors and nurses and the whole 9 yards. Well, if you haven't hired new staff, that means you have to take them from somewhere else to do this. And apparently, from what it seems to me, just being on the outside, is that we have a problem with no-call, no-shows. Now, maybe because it's overwork or you got too many patients and, patients are being canceled their appointments to be considered no-call, no-shows when it wasn't the patient that actually canceled it. It was, healthcare providers and nurses and staff because the schedule was too full because they don't want that blowback onto the doctor or the medical staff. So it's just, we'll make this a no-calls, no-show. Boom. And there it is. And that's why we have higher rates of no-call, no-show. Imagine that. But when you allow yourself to schedule over 200,000 appointments a year at 546 appointments a day, not counting, that's every day of the year, not taking into consideration Korean holidays, federal holidays, any work, leave, whatever. I'm really, I think that's too many appointments in a day. And then, like we said, the military became reliant upon the Korean hospitals, then the Korean doctors had the strike, and boom, that blew up in their face as well. And that's still not, even though the strike is over, it's still going to take 2 to 3 years to get back to the pre-strike levels. And those doctors were overworked to begin with. So getting appointments, like for me to get an appointment up at Samsung Medical Center for my mental health, because I'm a little out there, it was 3 months. I had to wait 3 months to get an appointment. Just so I could get, because I want to be able to get refills on my prescriptions, 90-day refills on my medications instead of just going to the hospital locally here every single month and see a doctor every 30 days to get a refill on my meds. So yeah, I got to put up with, so we're still having a backlog of appointments in the Korean hospitals because that isn't sorted out yet. Because you have to remember, not only did the resident doctors go on strike for over a year, they have to redo that year of residency. They also had the medical school students. They didn't go to medical school for over a year. They were associated with the strike as well, and now they have to make up that time. So really, realistically, it's going to take 2 to 3 years for everything to get back to normal pre-strike levels. So we're still going to have a delay in appointments and pushbacks and all of that stuff. And that is going to affect the quality of care that the military base provides because they farm out a lot of appointments to the Korean hospitals. So that's still going to be a problem. There's people complaining about that online for, hey, I got a referral to a Korean hospital, but it's going to be 2 or 3, 4 months before I can actually get the appointment. Some family members are going back to the United States to get medical care because they can't get in time, quality time medical care here because it's like, hey, this shouldn't take 2, 3 months or 4 months. This in the States, this is not a thing. So me and my family, we're going to go back. The spouses and family members are going to go back to the United States to live. Joe Schmo soldier stays here and works while the family goes back to actually get good medical care. So because of all these no-call, no-shows, how do we fix this problem? You know, the big giant heads get around this table and they hum and haw, and they're like, well, we need access to care. And it's like, let's make a new clinic. But somebody says, maybe we need some new doctors to go in that new clinic. No, we can't do that. That's impossible. We must have a new clinic. That will answer all our questions and answer all the problems that we have, is just having access to care. And we will just take people from existing clinics and we'll put them into the walk-in clinic. And then somebody says, well, sir, ma'am, isn't that going to take away from the time of care that we have in our regular clinics, which people are already being overworked and we can't see enough people in a day to begin with? Oh, no, this is all about access to care. Access to care. This is, that's what they're doing. It's like, Terry says, I saw the job posting when I was doing work at the VA in Houston for doctors to work part-time. The pay was $500,000 a year. Part-time. That's enough said. I mean, I wouldn't want to, if I was a doctor, I wouldn't want to work for the VA, but for $500,000, that just proves the point of that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence of the military. And, you know, unfortunately, the grass on the military side is you're cutting it with scissors instead of a lawnmower. You know, you're going to cut this whole field, and it's like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, where's the lawnmower? And they hand you scissors, and you're like, seriously, really? it's it's not going to work. Well, then you better get started. You know. Oh, and by the way, you're gonna have to cut more grass on top of the regular grass that you have. But I can't cut this field. There's no way I can cut this field with scissors, and now you want me to go over to that field and cut that grass over there with scissors. When do I eat? And how? Now I'm gonna be on call for 2 or 3 weeks at a time instead of just 1 week a month. Now it's gonna be 2 weeks a month, maybe 2.5, to go cut grass. But that's gonna take me away from cutting grass on this field, and I gotta go to this field and cut grass. But it's still not gonna result in cutting more grass. I just have more access to grass. But see what I'm saying? It's not going to work. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm older and I have common sense. I don't know. It's great that we have a new clinic, but you got too much grass and not enough scissors, and not enough people with scissors to cut the grass. And yet you want to keep adding more fields to cut. That's basically what it comes down to. Anyway, okay, so that's what we got going on. I'm going to have to go because it's about 8:23 right now, and I got to get changed. I got my workout to do because I want to stay fit and healthy and out of hospitals as was recommended. So that's part of the way that I do that. And I'm just thankful that I'm able to get medical care in the Korean hospitals. Granted, sometimes those appointments are a little bit further down the road than before. At least I can have the access to care and the care that I actually need. Whereas, you know, there's no way I would be able to get an appointment as a on-call standby appointment. So, yeah, it's just going to be rough. It's just going to be rough. I don't think this is going to end well. It looks good on paper. Hey, we opened up a new clinic. Well, congratulations, you're OER. Yeah, sure, you're OER. Major Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so opened up a new medical clinic. Ooh, for access to care. He checked the block. He is an outstanding leader in the medical field. Without even looking at the metrics of what was the cost. You're burning out your doctors. You're removing the amount of care that you're giving overall as a whole. Think of it like a bucket. You fill the bucket up with water, and then you make the bucket bigger and say, oh, look, we've got a bigger bucket, but the water level goes down. That is your quality of care that's going to go down. The bigger the bucket, the water. I don't know why they can't see this. I really don't know, but it looks good on paper. It's good for the OER. So it is what it is. Terry says, if we fully man the new clinic, then we'll have to cut the budget to the dining facilities for the bigwigs at the Pentagon. Which shouldn't even be a thing, but probably, you know. And the fact is, when you're working with budgets, I've worked with state budgets because I worked for the state of Colorado for 11 years. And definitely at the time in the military, you have the budget. How many of us were in the military? I was in the Army. And if you don't use your budget money, it gets taken away the next year. That's a horrendous thing to do because it's like it's not, everything is not set in stone. It's not black and white. Things are malleable and flexible, and things you might do one year you might not do in the next year, and vice versa. So reducing the amount of budget that you have, why can't we just say, hey, we've got this budget, and if we don't have if we need money for a new clinic, we need staff because we're doing a new clinic, boom, increase the budget, increase the staffing and the personnel. And then adjust the budget that way because we have more requirements to fill the largest overseas U.S. base in the world and 30 some odd thousand people and family members. It seems kind of justified, but no, according to the bureaucracy, we've got enough to provide a minimal amount of care. And now by opening up another clinic with the same amount of doctors, nurses, and staff, again, the quality of care overall is going to go down. It's the water in the bucket thing. Small bucket, the water's high, good to go. You make the bucket bigger with the same amount of water, it's not going to be as high. That's just the way it is. Okay, so anyway, that's what we got going on. We're going to go to the gym. We're going to work out. I'm going to try, like I said, there was the matcha latte. Yeah, definitely not for me. And George mentioned having cayenne pepper in his hot chocolate would make a richer or deeper. And it was, what was it, Alton Brown was recommended that. And somebody else, Netventive said that. And so I'm going to give that a shot and see what happens. So, except I'll make my own, since I do lattes at home. So I'll go to the store, I'll get some cayenne pepper. We'll do that, and we'll see how that works out. We'll do a before and after. I might even do a video on that, and see how that goes. So I'll make a latte, chocolate latte, and then we'll just have it naked, take a sip. Then we'll throw in some cayenne pepper. We'll mix it up in there and see how that goes. Sip it, and we'll see. See if I can tell a difference, or if I just have an allergic reaction to cayenne pepper and blow all the latte out my nose. We'll see how that works. Okay, so with that said, thank you, everybody. We're going to take off. And again, the obligatory, yes, I know, I got to go. And some of you are saying, no. Wait. Yeah, I know you don't want me to go, and I don't want you to go, but we have to go. So anyway, there's the email address. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. I enjoy the time that we have in these discussions. And just kind of, what's going on. Oh no, I hope I'm not getting sick. So with that said, we'll see you on the next video, and I'm off to get some cayenne pepper. So we'll see how that works. Peace. Cayenne pepper. I have to look that up.